What is your view? What is your 1 cent view of his interview? And then we go to the topic of today, that tomorrow's demonstration. Thank you so much, Daktari. Karibu sana.
Good evening, everyone, and good afternoon for people who are in other time zones. Like yesterday, we have to express our condolences and empathy with those who have been abducted, those who have been tortured, some have been maimed, and of course, the heroes whom they have killed. We have to always remember them by name, and I believe that next time we'll have their names basically read out, so that we actually always honor them. I know that Rex is one of the people that have been honored, but there are a lot of people that have lost their lives. And I think it is important, whether they were participating in the protest or not, that we honor them. The little boy who was shot.
Doctor, maybe just an interruption. There's a few names that we have. I can read them out.
Yeah.
And then
Go
you
ahead.
proceed. So number one on the list is the doctor who was actually giving out medical services during demonstration, Dr. Margaret Oyuga. May her soul rest in peace. We have Rex Kanyeki Masai. May his soul rest in peace. We have Franco Court, another legend. We have Nick Adams, another martyr. We have Eric Njeru, another hero. We have David Chege, Ian Kea, Belinda Acheng, Edwin Otieno, Eric Otieno, Eric Shieni, Bisley Kamau, Erickson Mutisia, Credo Oyaro, 17 years old, Emmanuel Tata, and then Ibrahim Kamau Wanjiko. This was a list that was out before the young boy was shot, is it 8 times or 12 times? The one that the president thinks she's still alive. She's in school. I guess today she went to school, and tomorrow she'll also join us in the maandamano in Nairobi and the various sides parts of the country. So, Dr.
So thank you, Kinsman. Let me start by saying we should stop calling Ruto president. Part of the struggle is the use of language. If we don't revolutionize our language, demystify and delegitimize oppressors, we are giving them power over us. It has to start with how we think and how we use language. Ruto lost legitimacy by the manner in which he has handled the protests. Not only did he hire goons, people who were not even police officers, and gave them guns to target protesters who are unarmed and peaceful and cause havoc in the country in all areas of Kenya. He then has gone on national TV many times and referred to them as criminals, the victims as criminals. So yesterday, what you saw was legitimacy. He then declared to all Kenyans that he doesn't get it. He's not just alienated from Kenyans. He's not just completely cold-blooded and heartless. He wants to tell Kenyans that he's proud of his killers, the snipers that they stationed in parliament and all other areas, the people who are shooting aimlessly into the crowds. He's basically daring the country, utadu. What are you going to do? And that is why tomorrow and any other day subsequent, the country must show Ruto that we own Kenya, that he doesn't own us, that having voted for him, And by the way, he did not even win the majority of Kenyans. He won the majority of the votes, 50+1, according to the IBC. That does not give you ownership over a people. The fact that you supported me does not give me power over you forever. It doesn't mean that if I turn around and abuse you, if I turn around and steal from you, if I turn around and brutalize you or brutalize your family, if I devalue your values, then you still support me. No, there is no such thing. In a democracy, we must earn support every single day. And Ruto no longer has our support. He went on national TV in order to turn away viewers from our space, our X space, and basically refused to answer every single question that was given to him. And then turn around and denied things that are so obvious that you would wonder, is this man normal? It is no longer just a question of Ruto is cold-blooded. Ruto seems to be convinced that he's God Almighty, that there is nothing we can do to him. And so we have to get our country back. I believe, and I've said this many times, that we have to be focused. These are the things people are saying, these are the things people are doing, demanding, oh, where are you, be in the forefront, blah, blah, blah. These are NIS and Ruto's tricks. Because it doesn't really matter where we are. Our brother who spoke from Zimbabwe is in Zimbabwe, but he's giving us inspiration. He's standing with us in solidarity. Our struggle is being watched everywhere. Our struggle is giving inspiration to everybody. And we can't fail ourselves. Because what happens when we fail? Then we give Ruto basically authority and power to pick each one of you and then assassinate, disappear, torture, maim, or force into exile. So this is a collective struggle. I just want to urge everyone that we have to be united in the struggle. Because of course, if we are divided, he's going to win over us. And as I said yesterday, and I continue to say, this is an intergenerational struggle, even if led by Gen Zs and the millennials. The issues we are dealing with, the issues of impunity, the issues of corruption, the issues of abuse of power, the issues of strangulation of all institutions of governance. These are not issues that affect one generation. So the moment we allow the message that everybody else should keep quiet, that only Gen Z should speak, that the only people that are feeling the pinch is a generation called Gen Zs, we are losing it. Because even Generation Alpha, the boy who was killed in Rongai, is not a Gen Z. The other boy that was shot 8 times is not a Gen Z. And some of them were not even in the demonstration. You will be victimized whether you are there or not. A tyrannical state does not distinguish between generations. And we learned this when we were growing up. Some of us have been in this struggle since we were teenagers too, like myself. So and we never stopped struggling, regardless of the contradictions in the struggle. So that's all I want to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daktari, for that. And I see many people are joining the conversation. Thank you so much. And make 1 million strong tomorrow, and for securing our future or secure the country. That's the way to go. Kumbukani.
10 million, my brother.
10 million. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Daktari. Kumbukani, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Miguna, honoring all who have lost their lives. I just want to emphasize on that point that you made, and it's a great point. I have been insisting, speaking on this need to ensure we don't go along with colonial language. Colonial language is very good at keeping us in boxes so that it can best control us. So they decide they're going to call us Gen Z so that they can best control us and control the narrative. We must refuse that. I agree with you. And this is a problem of Kenyans. I know my mother is suffering. When I was in Kenya, I was suffering to put food on the table. My brothers are suffering. My sisters are suffering. The children are suffering. So this is not just a Gen Z issue. The Gen Z, and even when you look at the protests, it wasn't just Gen Z on the streets. So this is something, being someone who's been in the West and seen and worked actually in their governments and seen how they operate, this is something they're very good on and very big on. They make sure they control the narrative, and we must make sure that we don't allow them to do so. Asante.
Thank you.
Maybe Hillary kidogo, maybe just to echo on the words of Daktari. Daktari, first of all, thank you so much for your contribution. The beauty with you is that you are eloquent enough, even if you putting us into dangerous spaces, we think like we are going into safe places. So your eloquence is something that we are admiring, and it is giving us energy. Saizi, we need all the energy that we can get, because the person that we are dealing with, remember, he's most important. And I want to emphasize on this. Remember, the people that voted for this president were brick and mortar. Parliament mmechoma kwa ofisi ya Sakaja, dimple zake zitakaa wapi? CJ ana ofisi. Kumbukeni, this man was voted in by brick and mortar. So tomorrow he will be dealing with robots. So we need all the energy that we can get. Daktari, thank you. Kesho tunatokea. All of us will be there in numbers 10 million strong. 10 million. Our strength is on the numbers. Our strength is on the disorganization. That is the biggest organization in Africa. Thank you for the brothers that are supporting us from diaspora, from other parts of the continent. Thank you so much. And everyone, please keep the hashtag going. Keep it alive. Like if you can, let's follow each other. Pale pia kwa nini, and there's a post I've put for Latif. Please retweet, like it, so that even when such kind of people get an opportunity to speak to Kenyans, they feel that we are behind them. Ruto should be feeling alone. We need to seclude this person. We need to put him in a corner and put him there forever and ever as Iwai Toka. We are tired. We are tired, man. So next speaker.
Thank you. Brief, go ahead. Brief, go ahead. Maja, see you. Everybody. Yep. We have a lot of requests, guys. Yeah, go ahead, brief.
Asante sana. Yes, yes, I want to reiterate that point about us creating and sticking to our own narratives, using our own language. We are Africans, we are Kenyans. Let's continue to perpetuate our narratives. Let's go back to our roots in search of everything, including the solutions. Daktari, I love the fact that you point out correctly, very accurately, that this is not a new fight. We have been fighting this fight because in reality, our economy, our systems of government have never worked for us. They've never worked for us Kenyans. We were bequeathed colonial systems that were meant to work for the colonizer. And the only thing that the colonizer did is turn it over to the African elites, Mzungus in black skin, to be the guardians of the spoils of colonialism. I'll just go real quick into Machiavelli's four-point blueprint of how you demoralize and conquer and colonize a people. It's a very thin book, by the way, The Prince by Machiavelli. It's a very thin book. Everybody in here should read it because it shows you who we are dealing with in the form of Ruto. So in the blueprint, it has 4 stages. The first one is you go in with your armies and administrators, and you demoralize the population by violence and aggression. The second stage is you create an elite class. You show them that if they are brutal, if they speak English like you or whatever language like you, and they behave like you, they too can get a taste of the privilege. The third one is 1960s, 1956 Ghana, 1963 Kenya, where you hand over political control to the elite class. And the fourth stage is the most lucrative because after they withdraw their security forces and their administrators, now all they do is collect on the spoils of colonialism using the elite class that they put in place. And that's what we have. We have an elite class that are the custodians, the guardians of colonialism. So Ruto just happens to be the very unfortunate one who is sitting being the custodian. He had a choice. He had a choice not to be the custodian, and we are giving him that choice today. As Kenyans, we are saying, are you going to serve us, or are you going to continue to serve the neoliberal colonialist policies that you have been bequeathed? And again, this is not new. It's been since independence, or so-called independence, quote unquote, because we've never been independent. We are still under colonialism. We are the fourth stage of colonialism. We are not even in neocolonialism yet. Maybe if we beat this economic colonialism, maybe they will introduce a new colonialism that we can at that point call neocolonialism. But at this point, we are still in colonialism. So, and Kenyans are very hungry because we've got a glimpse of what it might look like if we actually had a leader who had our interests. I think we all agree, or most of us Kenyans agree, that the Kibaki presidency showed us that we had the capacity to govern ourselves, to govern for Kenya, by Kenyans, with the interests of Kenyans. The fact that within one term, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, within the first term, Kenya was living within our means, living off the proceeds of our taxation, and we were getting services for the taxation. By the way, we must resist Western narratives that try to paint this as purely, quite simply, they reduce it to an anti-tax movement. We are not an anti-tax movement. What we are is an anti-imperialist, anti-neoliberal movement. We are protesting against regressive taxation. What we want is progressive taxation, where the people at the bottom of the economic ladder are not being overly burdened. They are not being overburdened with the burden of taxation. We ensure that the people at the bottom of the economic ladder are looked after, that corporations, especially foreign corporations, especially international organizations, now wamejaa Kenya. Kenya is now the #1 destination of venture capital. And every single venture capitalist firm in Kenya is run by Wazungus, by foreigners, by Americans. They are coming, they are getting the funds. These funds look like they are coming to Kenyans. These same venture capitalists, they are coming, they are stealing the idea of Kenyans. Then they are turning around and bankrupting those companies, cashing out, going to buy properties in Kileleshwa, in Mombasa, in Diani, in Zanzibar. So raising the prices of our homes at the same, of our properties at the same time as they are stealing from us. They are stealing our ideas. And by the way, they are stealing our ideas and then killing them, because the only way you can actually cash out is if you bankrupt the company after you've already stolen and patented the ideas. So we have to connect the dots. So William Ruto had a choice to be a leader for Kenya for Kenyans. He has chosen to be a leader who is here to implement IMF policies that overburden, again, the poor, that protect, in particular, Western, European, and American corporations, but foreign corporations in general, foreigners, at the expense of Kenyans. So he needs to make a choice. He needs to be, and Kenyans are giving all of our leadership this choice. You need to be more afraid of us, and you need to show us that you're more afraid of us, because you need to recognize either ni sisi tumekuweka hapo, we've put you into power, ama ni brick and mortar ambayo imekuweka hapo. If you believe it's brick and mortar, fine, continue serving brick and mortar and serving the interests of the IMF and the World Bank and of BlackRock. This is why the guy who came in preaching bottom up, the very first executive order, he couldn't even wait for legislation. The very first executive order he signed was to privatize our most highly performing parastatals. Why? To hand them over to BlackRock. BlackRock is now very proudly coming to Kenya to invest, or so-called quote-unquote invest, to steal Let's be very accurate. So, so when our parastatals are privatized, kila kitu imeenda. Starting with, by the way, when we are making sure that Ruto is gone, can we also make sure, even before Ruto, that Devin Day is gone? And, by the way, there's a process of removing the president. And I don't know exactly what it is. I will admit that. Daktari, you are the lawyer here. But there is one thing, there is a path that is very clear. We need to first start removing the MPs, his supporters, the ones around him, because we can recall our members of parliament. And I can't believe how easy it is. I'm sure you've all seen that video. There's a website where you go, you start the petition for you only need something apparently very small, like 50,000, I believe, signatures to recall your member of parliament. So we need to start by those, because once we have recalled enough MPs, this guy is weak. He can be impeached. Right now, he cannot be impeached because he has the majority in parliament, even though right now wanaogopa kutembelewa. So let's start with that process, because that is within reach. Let me yield there and hear from other people. Asanteni sana. Good to see you, Maj. Good to see everybody else. Kumbukeni. Lovely to see you there. And Dr. Miguna, so glad to hear you and so honored to be sharing this space with you. Thank you, Wanjiro, for inviting me. And I'm just so gratified that we are having this conversation.
I think Daktari wants to answer you. Daktari, I see your mic is open. Please, if you want.
Yes, thank you very much. We were on this space for 3 hours yesterday, and I actually posted a summary of the main points that we discussed. And I believe the general consensus, if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, is that we are way past what our friend, brother was saying. We are way past that. We are way past recalling the MPs. We are way past signing petitions. We are way past impeachment motions. We are on the streets. And a lot of our people have already been murdered by Ruto. So it's not a question of process. The process that we have now is a popular revolutionary process on the streets. On the streets everywhere in the Republic of Kenya. We are in all villages, we are in all towns, we are in all cities, and people are calling for Ruto to go. This is a constitutional process. As I explained yesterday, under Clause 1 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the sovereignty of the people, the power to constitute ourselves into a state, into a government, vests or belongs to the people. That's Clause 1 of the Constitution. That's where it is. You can choose to govern yourselves through your elected representatives, or you can do so yourselves directly when your elected representatives or quote-unquote governors have failed, which is what happened more than 2 weeks ago. Ruto failed. Ruto registered to the people that he failed by forcing Finance Bill 2024 on us, even though Kenyans had told him in petition after petition, protest after protest, and engagement after engagement, that he needed to withdraw it entirely so that he could bring a legislation or bill that was acceptable to the people. He refused. He said, I'm going to do it whether you like it or not. And then he forced his MPs, who are basically robots, to pass it in parliament. And then he was going to sign it had the people not taken over parliament and all spaces in Kenya. In other words, if we don't do what we did last week, we have lost it. We cannot change course and go back and start the process all over again. He occupies and controls the legislature. He controls the National Assembly. He controls the Senate. He controls the county assemblies. He controls the governors who are robots, headed by Anne Waiguru, the NYS thief. He controls the media, largely, except for the brave journalists that you saw yesterday, but the institutions of the media he controls. He controls the judiciary. So which means that he has blocked all democratic routes for people to be able to bring him to account. We can't take it to, you can't take him to court and win. You can't take it to the National Assembly through any impeachment legislation and win. So where is the space that you can engage William Ruto and be able to tell him that we are your bosses, you must do what we say? It's only in the public square. It's only on the streets. It's only in the cities. It's only in the towns. It's only in the villages. And that's where we must occupy tomorrow, with 10 million, or from 1 million going up, so that he understands that these people don't want me. I throw in the towel, and we constitute what I've already outlined yesterday, or whatever it is that people believe unanimously is the good process, so that we can have fresh elections. That is entirely constitutional. And it has happened like that throughout history in many, many countries, which I don't have to list today. So let's not go back. Let's not give William Ruto respite, a breathing space. Let's move forward.
Thank you, Dr. for that. Before the next speaker comes in, I want to read for you a poem from Martin Luther King, Nathan Nimola, born in 1892 up to 1892, and then he died in 1984. He said, first they came for the communist, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So next speaker, please.
Hello guys, can be allowed to speak something. First I have to say condolences to all.
Wait.
Okay.
Binadam, we don't work here that way. You carry up your hand, because all these people will start to open the mic, then how it will be. So it is important when we see your hands up. That is very key. Maj, but Binadam, go ahead before Maj, and then Tomboya.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
No, Binadam, wait. Tomboya was ahead of you. Please, just be patient. Raise your hand, and then you'll be given the mic. Let's be orderly, please. Table manners. So Tomboya, yes.
Hello Kenyans, good evening, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I really wanted to reiterate on the point that the 5-star General Dr. Miguna has explained, but now I'll be very brief. We should be very specific, as he has always said. Let us know what we want and go for it. We are actually past anything constitutional and legal process. Let us know that anything that requires to go back to consider a procedure of constitutionalism is not for us right now. Let us be on the street and let us go by Ruto must go now. Ruto must go, Ruto must go, Ruto must go. After having that as a word, then let us go by action. Let us occupy the streets. By this time, we should not necessarily be reminding us many things, the negatives and any other thing. We should now be talking about which strategies are we employing on the streets. If we say we remove the picture of Ruto on our businesses, let that be the strategy. If we say we occupy the specific office, let that be the strategy. Let us go by action, because this action is what will make him come out. Going by saying that we must recall MPs first before Ruto has gone, that one will just continue taking us into circles. Let us focus on Ruto. As the 5-star general said, let us avoid Weston. Let us avoid his businesses. Let us be specific, and we are going to achieve it. This is a spirit that is now running with us. It is a spirit. Let us go by this spirit. Thank you. I don't want to say much. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And for the next speaker who is coming in, please, if you voted in Ruto as your president, remember and don't forget that first of all of you guys who are in here, you are criminals. You never voted for him. What voted for him is the 2.6 billion worth of properties that you've spoiled. Brick and mortar made our president the man he is today. So please, Bin Adam, go.
Okay, thank you so much. And I would like to start by condolences to all the fallen heroes. We're still together in love and in spirit. What I would like to say here is, after watching the interview, you could clearly see that this guy is still a liar and a person who don't want to admit to the mistakes. He doesn't have the empathy. He doesn't feel how it feels to lose someone you know, someone close to you. So when I watched him and he pretends to be following up online, and the only defense he could say, the BBC reported there was no massacre. So it tells you that this guy comes online, but he looks for those loopholes like yesterday. So what I would like to say is, the cause is already on, and we can't back. Because for us to start regrouping again, if we stop this, it will be very difficult. But one issue I have personally is this. Like we say, maandamano, it's every Tuesday and every Thursday. And I think we are giving them a good time to regroup and replan and re-strategize. So that's just my opinion, so that others can try to look at my perspective. Because imagine, since there was maandamano last Thursday until tomorrow, these people have now good energy. The police have good energy to come to streets tomorrow. But if we make it consistent, like almost every day, we will exhaust them, because we know very clearly that the ratio of a policeman to the citizens, it's 1 to maybe 300. So if we make it every day, we will be able to exhaust these policemen. They can't manage us. And then if we come, like we're saying, make it 10 million strong, we will exhaust all these departments of police and the military. So that's just my opinion. I wish that most people would come out, and I wish we can increase the days, not to give them time to re-strategize and plan. And I would like to ask Daktari, now since we know clearly right now that he's playing games with us when he say he doesn't sign, but I have understood from what I've heard, I'm not pretty sure, that if the bill stays along within 14 to 21 days, automatically it becomes a law. So which means we are fighting, but the thing is still cooking. So what's the best way we can do to make sure that we don't lose this, Daktari? Thank you.
Daktari, the mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the short answer is yes, within 14 days, the bill is automatically law. So basically, Ruto has done nothing. There is no withdrawal of the bill. It will automatically become law, even if he doesn't sign it. That is why I was saying people who are saying Ruto has conceded are completely wrong. He waited until this time because he knows that if he doesn't sign it within 14 days, it will be law. And he's already signed the appropriation bill 2024, which means that he is spending just as much as he was before. He said that he was going to deal, like yesterday he was asked about the offices, the illegal offices of the first ladies and the second and third ladies, and he said he was going to not fund them. But in the appropriation bill that he signed, he allocated over 557 million to these officers. They are already receiving money as he was speaking, so he knew he was lying. Don't believe anything Ruto says. Don't believe anything his office says. Don't believe anything any of his cronies say. They are all just lying, and he's buying throughout history is to occupy all spaces. Make sure they can't move. Make sure they can't execute. Make sure they can't do anything. So that even if they took the money, they cannot spend it. Right now, if they cannot leave State House, they can't go to the 7-star hotels, they can't fly out of the country, they can't go to their mistresses, they can't enjoy the money. So eventually, they will just have to go. And if we are 1 million to 10 million strong, we can occupy everywhere, including where he is. And he would have to take that helicopter to Congo or to any other country that he deems he can seek exile in. But Ruto should have no free space to move, and his regime. Those who are thinking that this is something to be given to Rigiji should be reminded that Ruto must go includes the entire regime. Those who are saying the military will take power do not understand the mentality or orientation of the military. The military does not fire at citizens. They join citizens when citizens occupy all public spaces. That is recorded in history. They are not like the zombies that are called police, who shoot because many of them do not even know how to write their names. And I am not saying this lightly, because you have seen the robotic nature with which the police shot everyone who was not even threatening them. So let's focus on Ruto and his regime. The gentleman called Mboya said, let's not be legal or constitutional. I have emphasized, Clause 1 of the Constitution is part of the Constitution. When you are occupying public spaces and saying Ruto must go, that is a constitutional exercise. When you are removing Ruto through Clause 1, you are acting within the Constitution. There is nothing outside the Constitution. You don't need anything else. Anybody who is referring to a secondary legislation or some kind of act of parliament does not understand how law and constitution works. The Constitution is the supreme law. Any law that contradicts it is null and void. So any law that purports to claw back on our sovereignty is deemed null and void. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. Thank you, Daktari, for those sentiments. I think now we are clear. Everyone has understood the mission. We only have one assignment tomorrow is to occupy, occupy, occupy. Carry your bottle of water, carry your flowers for commemoration of the heroes that we've lost. Be in public spaces, occupy, occupy. Let's all be on the streets. We'll march on peacefully, and until Ruto must go is achieved. So the next speaker, please.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up question, Kinsman?
Kumbukeni, you are. I have seen you. I've seen you, but I think you have a network problem.
Yeah? My friend, there is a lady who wants to ask a follow-up question. Maybe if you don't mind, you could allow her to ask.
Yes,
What's
please.
her name, please, Daktari?
It's Nduko Kumbukeni.
Can the ladies that are here, I'm seeing Achieng, I'm seeing
It's
I'm
me.
saying, ladies, if you're in the room, kindly raise your hand.
She's saying her
It's
name is
Kumbukeni.
Nduku. Her
It's
name is
Kumbukeni.
Nduku. Mm.
Kumbukeni is the handle.
Kumbukeni, please.
Asante. All right. So,
But she seems to have a network problem because her nini has just been rotating.
can you hear me?
Kumbukeni, can you hear us?
I can
Kingsman,
hear her very
yeah.
well. I can hear her.
Okay, proceed.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So, Dr. Miguna, because Ruto was very keen to keep repeating the rule of law, and this is something that these criminals who call themselves leaders do all the time so that they can justify deploying the military on the people. So, and you have said several times that the military will not shoot on the people if the people occupy. I look at the Constitution, which is the rule of law that Ruto will use to defend his actions, and in one part, it gives the people the sovereign power, but right after it, it takes away the sovereign power from the people and gives it to the presidency. So could you please address that?
Okay, so let me answer you, Nduku. The Constitution does not take power that it has given in Clause 1. Clause 1 is not negated in any part of the Constitution. The following provisions of the Constitution simply says that once the people have delegated power to someone like the president, they would exercise that power. The delegation happens at election time. But if the people believe, for instance, that the president has not done what he was elected to do, Clause 1 can always be triggered by the people. And they do not have to go to their delegate, the person they have delegated power to, for permission to get back their power. That's like saying, if you have an employee and you have given the employee the terms and conditions of employment, there is a letter of employment. They are not supposed to be insubordinative to you. They are not supposed to steal from you. They are supposed to be answerable to you when they have done something and you want to call them to account. If they disobey your orders, you can fire them. And you don't need permission from them to fire them. So what I'm saying, the Constitution is our employment letter. We gave the president or Ruto a job to do. And for 2 years, he has done no job for us. He has been mangering all over the world, going to Washington. In fact, Ruto has been traveling every single week. He has spent billions of our money. He's our employee. We are the employer. He has spent billions without permission from us. He purported to have hired a jet to Washington without our authority. There is no constitutional power he had to unilaterally take our money and hire a jet. We have Kenya Airways. That is the mode of transportation for anybody who is working for us, because Kenya Airways partly belong to us. So what I'm saying is that Ruto has abrogated every constitutional provision and every term of employment, and he stands dismissed.
Would it, a quick one, sorry, Kinsman and Hillary, would it then
No, but
be...
I think going back and forth is not useful. Once I've answered your question, I think we should move on.
You have answered it, but I was going to ask as a follow-up of that, would it then be a wise choice for us to put together an indictment that